I know people are less loyal today. They're tired of all the price increases. They're looking for a deal. They're looking to take money out of their in business to help their profitability. So it's your job to say, well, where can I showcase my value added services? Where can I actually meet them where they are in the market to help them? Because that's what loyalty is today. It's not necessarily I've done business with you for 10 years, because that very next order, they may jump. So if you're not showcasing why you have a service that someone's going to come back to, you're not going to really get any value out of your brand, and it's just a nice to have.
So Jim, we've seen an increase in conversations with top-level execs on the topic of brand, and more importantly, how brand can help businesses drive either new growth, new profitability, or even help in the area of talent. Now, a lot of this is being driven by industry consolidation, the amount of disruption in markets. So very good timing for this topic, but I guess before we dive in too deep, I got to ask you, have you been following the whole rebrand of Twitter moving to the brand of X?
Well, hi, James. I don't know if I would call it a rebrand, right? Maybe it's a disaster is what you would want to refer to it as. Yeah, I think it's a very high profile case of where branding can go bad, unfortunately, right? X wasn't a good idea when Elon Musk was at PayPal. It's not a good
Yeah.
idea today. And you're seeing the market react to it, right? Their overall users are down, their churn is up, their valuation is way down, the banks are freaking out. So it's a good case study in what not to do. And you can't just force your will on a brand. Like, there's more to it.
It is fascinating to see, and an example in more of a B2C context here, but I guess bringing the conversation closer to the types of firms that we work with, both on the distribution side and the manufacturing side, they're working with more of a B2B type of audience. So in this vein, Jim, if we were to give our top tips on how executives can leverage the power of brand to drive their business performance, what are some of the things that would come top of mind here?
Yeah, I think you want to start with value proposition, right? I mean, it has to be meaningful, it has to be tangible. And that's where I would start. If you do not have a tangible value prop, meaning something that your in market, your customers can grab on and simply understand, then your value prop is not going to have any meaning, and it's going to be lost in translation. So, unfortunately, what we see a lot of times is a manufacturer may be too product centric, right? Or too internal facing. Or a distributor in the channel, they're not really talking about anything of value about themselves, right? They just really depend on their lines, their product. They're used to negotiating on price. And how competitive everything is today, if you don't have those value added services, if you don't have something tangible that your market can relate to, you're going to start seeing slippage.
Yeah, and it's so important just to get that value prop crystal clear, how it communicates what you deliver. One that comes to mind for me is brand portfolio. You know, there's such an increase in consolidation of companies, both in distribution and in manufacturing over the past 5+ years, that a lot of companies are faced with, hey, we have a larger collection of brands in our portfolio. How do we start to really leverage the strengths of this portfolio as in aggregate, right? And that's where brand architecture comes into play. And we've seen a lot of this recently of just helping executives understand, which brands are actually going to be able to, help these organizations put their best foot forward in driving, enterprise value for the organization. And sometimes that means you have to prune some of these brands. And I would say one of the things that we talk about a lot here, Jim, is, sometimes there could be very hasteful decisions of let's just cut this brand, that brand, and move to these brands. And without a lot of thought put towards how to transition the equity of some of these other brands into maybe some of the brands that you want to lead with. So I think trying to actually understand how to transition that equity effectively, it takes time. That some of these brands were built over years, if not decades. You can't just flip a switch and have that brand be gone. You have to be able to transition the equity into your other brands. And another one that comes to mind, Jim, is market development right now. We've seen countless cases where both manufacturers and distributors are using their brand to effectively steal market share. And as we head into times where market share or market growth is slowing, this is becoming an even bigger topic of how do you effectively steal share from your competition. And in a lot of cases, this comes down to, using your brand to effectively communicate all of what you actually offer and the value of what you offer. So if you're a distributor, a lot of times you might be working with a customer and you might be their second or third tier supplier. Well, how do you get up to that, first tier supplier to where you're capturing more share of wallet with those customers? A lot of times from what we see, brands or customers just simply don't understand that you as a distributor offer some of these other more comprehensive services or broader array of products. So your brand can be a very powerful way to communicate, how you can help that customer in new ways. And same thing on the manufacturing side. A lot of this comes down to how do you use your brand to convert people into your product versus a competitive product. A lot of companies use innovation to do it, but it's very expensive. A lot of times it can come down to, can you just more effectively bring out the value of your brand to that end customer and to those distribution selling teams to where you're better acquainted with end customers' problems, and you have messaging and you have your brand positioned around helping these end customers with the problems or the pain that they have in their facility.
Yeah, James, those are really good points. And when you go back to how you build your equity or how you transfer equity from one brand to a larger brand, and then how that translates into market share, what you're really asking yourself is, how do I get more turns, right? How do I get my product in the market quicker? How do I build the loyalty? And that would be in the next tip I would talk to. Because without loyalty, you're always just going to be hit or miss. You may get one turn, then a consumer is going to go to another market or another supplier, right? Or your end user may just be shopping on price or just speed. So your job is saying, I know people are less loyal today. They're tired of all the price increases. They're looking for a deal. They're looking to take money out of their end business to help their profitability. So it's your job to say, well, where can I showcase my value added services? Where can I actually meet them where they are in the market to help them? Because that's what loyalty is today. It's not necessarily I've done business with you for 10 years, because that very next order, they may jump. So if you're not showcasing why you have a service that someone's going to come back to, you're not going to really get any value out of your brand, and it's just a nice to have. So I think loyalty is really important, and it's twofold. So the last tip here is, well, we want to have more loyalty, but how do we do that internally, right? Like, what are we conveying back out to the market? Well, there's a huge problem right now with retention, and then you have the retirement cliff. So you have to be really honest with yourself as an organization. Am I culturally fitted to the market I'm trying to serve? Am I being honest with myself and my brand? Is my value prop, what we were talking about earlier, the tangible service that I'm pushing out, do my employees actually believe it? Are we all driving towards the same goal as a team? Because if you're not, you're going to see a lot of changeover, a lot of disruption. You're going to see suppliers get very frustrated. So without that retention strategy there, you're going to have a really hard time to build anything else that we've talked about.
Yeah, that's such a big one, Jim, just with talent retention and talent recruitment. That is foundational to all these tips. So great point there. So just to summarize this, to all manufacturers and distributors out there, Look at brand as your secret weapon to help you achieve higher levels of business performance. Elevate the conversation of brand beyond just the marketing department and have a leadership discussion as to how you can truly leverage your brand to achieve what you're looking to accomplish over the next 1 to 3 years. And to do this, the first tip we would have is have a strong value proposition. Make sure it is customer-centric and hits exactly on the value that you drive to your end customer. The next tip would be make sure you evaluate your overall brand portfolio. Make sure you have the right brands in the portfolio and that you've transitioned equity from some of your weaker brands into your stronger brands to build enterprise value. The next tip would be to use your brand to steal market share. Make sure that you are looking at your customer base and trying to become that top slot if you're a distributor, or if you're a manufacturer, try and convert users into your brand using stronger brand messaging and selling propositions. The next tip would be, use brand to increase your customer loyalty. And this is a great way to grow your business and profitability because the cost of customer acquisition is high. So use your brand to maintain share of wallet with existing customers. And finally, use your brand to actually help you recruit top talent and retain your talent because you're going to need the best team in place in order to continue to drive growth and success. So to start all this, we would suggest doing some type of brand assessment. Understand where you can actually capture more opportunity across all the brands that you have within your portfolio. Jim, thanks for the tips today. Super insightful.
Yeah, thank you, James.
Thank you for watching. If you liked what you heard and you want to put some of these insights to use across your teams, please reach out to us at dorngroup.com. If you'd like to receive more unique insights for mastering channel performance as either a manufacturer or a distributor, follow us on LinkedIn or our YouTube channels. Thanks for watching.